Hi, my name's Kim J and I'm a volunteer for RNIB. I'm also a visually impaired chef. I've written 2 cookery books in large print with all proceeds going to RNIB. The first one is A Taste of Spice, which is authentic Indian cuisine, and the second one is The Sense of Cooking. Now today I'm going to show you how to make keema. Now keema is lamb mince curry. You can either have it dry or with a little bit of sauce, and it's extremely easy to make. What the ingredients you're going to need are 2 large white onions, which we're going to finely chop, half a tin of chopped tomatoes. You'll need 3 cloves of garlic, about half an inch to an inch of root ginger, 3 green chilies, a large handful of coriander, about 60 grams in weight, about 3 to 4 tablespoons of frozen peas. If you don't like peas, just get rid of it. I sometimes put sweet corn in. Approximately 450 grams of minced lamb. Now you're also going to need salt, chili powder, turmeric, oil, about a teaspoon and a half of cumin seeds, and you're going to need a pinch of garam masala. And those are the ingredients for this amazing lamb mince keema dish. On the hob I have a large wok which I put on to heat. Now into that I'm going to put about a tablespoon of vegetable oil and a teaspoon to a teaspoon and a half of the cumin seeds. And what you're going to do is you're going to cook those cumin seeds until you can smell the musky smell of the cumins intensify, and you can hear them sizzling in the oil. And when you hear it sizzling and you can smell the intensity of the cumin, you know then it's time for the next step. The smell of that cumin is so strong now, and I can hear it sizzling in the pan. So at this stage, I'm going to put in the 2 onions, which I have blitzed down. You can, if you don't have a machine, just chop it up finely. Put it into that hot oil and stir. Now you need to cook these onions until they are a rich golden brown, or until they start to come together in a bowl in a wok. It will take about 10 to 15 minutes, so be patient with this and cook those onions through. Now, I've been cooking these onions for about 5 minutes. For those of you that have got colour, it's probably sort of a soft caramel brown. Now, in my wok, it's starting to stick. Onions have natural sugar, quite a lot of natural sugar. So when it starts to cook, the sugar in it causes the onions to stick and burn. You could add a little bit more oil, but we're trying to be healthy here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add water. So step back a little, because the steam will, as soon as you put a little bit of water up, the steam will come up. And what that does, it decaramelizes the sugar, and it helps a little bit in the cooking process. Using a mixture of a little of oil and water to cook with, it does take longer, there's no doubt about that, but it is much healthier. And you keep doing that and you keep stirring the onions. Now you want it sort of a rich, darker brown, and it's not quite ready. When I stir it, the onions are coming together, but they're still sort of breaking away. And as you keep cooking, the onions will come together until it's more firmer, and it's that firmness we're looking at, and we're not quite there yet. I've cooked the onions for another sort of 7 minutes. Now, for those of you that can have sight, they're a lovely sort of rich golden brown, not dark brown, not as dark as I would do it for, say, a chicken curry. But it is dark brown, and as you stir it, you can feel all the onions coming together and clinging together and firming up into a ball. And that's when you know it's ready for the next step. So into that, I'm going to put the half a tin of chopped tomatoes. Now step back when you do that, because again it will sizzle as it hits the pan. Into that I put the green chilies that I have chopped really finely, the ginger, which again chopped really finely, and the garlic chopped really finely, and all that goes into that pan and you give it a quick stir. Now you can put the ginger, garlic and the chilies at the beginning when you're cooking the rice, but especially with someone that has sight problems, what happens is the garlic burns really fast, so it's just as good putting it at this stage so that it doesn't burn. Now the next step is to put the spices in. Firstly, I'm going to put salt, about a teaspoon of salt. And depending on taste, about 3/4 to a teaspoon of chili powder. And a teaspoon of turmeric. Now turmeric is rich, yellow, golden colour, and that helps not only to flavour the curry, it also helps to colour it, and great therapeutic value. And now I'm putting in garam masala. Now garam masala is a spice that it's ground down, cinnamon, cloves, black pepper, cumin seeds, all ground down, and that's what this is. And you need to put just a pinch. Garam masala is a spice that when you eat a curry from a restaurant or a takeaway, it gives you that kick at the back of the throat. So just be very careful when you use it if you're not too keen on spices. Now I'm going to put in half of the coriander, which I have chopped very finely, and I am now going to stir this masala for about 5 minutes before we go to the next step. I've cooked this masala for 5 minutes, and once again, as I'm cooking, I can feel that tomato masala coming together almost in a bowl. Now I'm going to add in the peas. If you don't like peas, like I said, you can get rid of them. You could put sweet corn in, or some people at the end put boiled potatoes. Totally up to you. And give it a bit of a stir. Now again, you're going to cook this masala for another 5 minutes just to keep on infusing and cooking those spices. Now for those of you that are vegetarian or vegan, instead of mince, you could use corn mince or soya. It's just as good. Always remember, when you look at a recipe, you can substitute ingredients. It's only a template. I've cooked the peas and the masalas for another 5 minutes, and I'm going to taste it at this point. Now it should be just very slightly salty, because the next bit is the mince, so you need that extra little bit of salt for the mince. So make sure all the chilies and the spices are just right. Perfect. Now I'm going to add the mince. I use lean lamb mince. Now you always need a little bit of fat with your mince, because that's what flavours any dish, to be honest. And I'm going to stir in this mince, and as I'm stirring, I'm just breaking the lumps down. Don't worry, it will eventually break down as you cook it. And at this stage, I'm going to put half of the remainder of the coriander, and you stir, and as you're stirring you can smell the lamb and the spices, and it is gorgeous. And there's enough here for at least a family of 4, or you can put some away in the freezer, totally up to you. And stir for another 5 minutes whilst you cook that mince. I've cooked the mince for 5 minutes, and as I'm stirring, I can feel the mince is now not clumping together, it's separating, which is what I want. Now at this stage, some people like dry keema, which is what this is. Now if you want dry keema, you cook it for another sort of 10 minutes and then it's cooked. But if you like a sauce in it, you add water. As much water as you want to get the thickness of sauce that you need. Now it's not too sloppy, but just this rich sort of sauce that you can sort of dip chapatis or naan or pita breads into it, whichever you like. Put a little bit of extra water than you think, because as you're cooking, obviously it will start to evaporate and it will thicken. And if you need more water at any stage, add it in. So I'm going to cook this through for 10 minutes, at which stage you check to see that the spices and the salt is fine, and then it's done. The keema is cooked and I'm just going to garnish it with some of that coriander just before I serve, and the smells are fabulous. Now I would normally taste, as you all know, that I normally taste the food at the end, but I'm not going to because I'm a vegetarian and I've used mince in this. But like I said, if you're vegetarian or vegan, use soya or corn mince and it works just as well. Serve it with plain boiled rice, naan, pita breads, chapatis, and it is gorgeous. Perfect for an evening meal. Great comfort food. Lamb keema. Now you have a recipe for a great dish. But when you're in the kitchen, there are certain safety guides and rules that you should adhere to, and which keeps you safe. Now, one of the things that I do before I start cooking is I make sure that I've got shoes on that are sturdy with good grips. I make sure that there's nothing on the floor that I can trip over, and there are no spillages or liquid or condensation on the floor that makes it a bit of a hazard. Now, before cooking, the first thing that you do, as we all know, is wash our hands thoroughly. And especially when you're dealing with raw meat, at every stage, wash your hands thoroughly. It stops cross-contamination. It keeps you and your family safe. When you're using the oven and the hob, know your oven and hob really well. Now, I use tactile markings so that I know exactly what temperature to put the oven on and what setting, so that I've not put the grill on when I should be putting the oven on. Now, with the hob, whenever you're sort of putting anything on the hob, make sure the handle is not sticking out. Now, I like to keep the handle at approximately 10 to 12. And the reason for that is it's not near enough to the unit for you to accidentally knock it off. It is not over another hob which may be on, so the handle's getting hot. So this is the safest position. Now, if you're boiling anything, be very, very careful. Don't fill the pan up too much. And if possible, use the boiler alert, which tells you when that liquid is bubbling away and it's hot, and it keeps you safe. If you're not comfortable with the hob and the oven, use the microwave whenever you can. It's a lot safer. And every time you are taking things out of the oven or from the microwave, because remember, plates and dishes get extremely hot in the microwave, use oven gloves. Now, I like to use thermal oven gloves. They're a lot safer. Don't be tempted to use tea towels or anything else. And they literally go to extreme temperatures, so you're very safe with them. Whenever you cut any food in the kitchen, use safe cutting methods. Keep the blade away from your fingers, so set it a couple of millimeters away from your fingers, and that way you're safe all the time. Now, if you're not confident with a knife, you can use appliances like food processors. Make sure you know how they work properly, and keep safe. And if you're still not confident, ask somebody else to do it. It is better to be safe than have an injury. If you have any cuts or you cut yourself whilst you're in the kitchen, put a plaster on it. And if you have a burn, run it under cold water. And if it's bad, you seek medical advice straight away. whenever you cook meat, always ensure that the meat is thoroughly cooked, because raw meat will give you food poisoning. Now, the best optimum temperature to cook meat is between 66 degrees and 73 degrees. Use a food thermometer if you're not too sure. They do have talking food thermometers, which you can get quite easily. And you store the meat as soon as you can, as soon as it's cooled down, store it straight away in the fridge, and read the advice on storage on the labels.